Hello and welcome everybody. We are back with Session 0 of Critical Measures Hunter the Vigil 2nd Edition. I am joined by the lovely individuals below me, on the screen at least. If you want to start off, like reading, so live or up. Next would be him. Next would be Crüjen. Martin. That leaves us with last but not least that we most certainly are. So, bit of my preamble here. I have already assigned everybody a character sheet on Roll20, so you can go ahead and start getting things set up, getting it set over to Hunter 2nd Edition alike. It's also at this time that we are going to be dealing with darker subject matter. As always, this is a personal horror style game, so I have taken the time to go through everybody's lines and veils to make sure that everybody will be comfortable in this game.
What?
Oh, are you?
Somebody just pinged you in general and said they can't hear anyone but you.
It's Robin.
Well, yeah, but
It's Robin.
Hi, Robin.
I'm still letting you know they pinged you.
I see their messages. But anyways, as stated, I have went through all of the needed lines and veils, and well, let's get down to character creation. So, first thing I like to start is, who here has some ideas as characters that they want to play?
I've got a pretty well rounded out concept.
I would say I give it a shot too, but as it's my first hunter, I think it'll need some second opinion, definitely.
I don't have a solid concept, although I do have kind of stats allocated already in my head, if that makes sense. I have a semi-build, but no concept with it.
I was waiting to figure out, where we were, what tier we're doing, etc., before I finalized it.
Also important, yes.
Yes, very important. So, with that, I am currently leaning, at least with current thoughts, somewhere in either towards Appalachia region or Florida, because there's a lot of more unique cryptids and the like. There's some folklores that we can get into that are kind of interesting to do so. If anybody has a preference in those two or has an alternative idea, I would be willing to hear them.
Fine with me. Like Fallout or Florida, man.
Sound like a great setting to get started. I think it's pretty much there.
Live, do you have any suggestions, thoughts?
I'm happy to go with that. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. I'll make
Flip a coin.
I think we will go with Appalachia, just because there's a lot of really cool folklore. And while we can do the traditional, vampires and the like, there are a lot of other things that can be included in that region. So, with that being stated, tier was a discussion. What tier is it most people here interested in? I know we were originally looking at tier 2 or 3.
Personally, compact would be a cell. Was it cell? Compact conspiracy? Yeah, compact would be my choice, as it's a little less regimented, a little bit more freeform, but I'm happy to go with majority.
So, tier 2?
I'm fine with either. The last Hunter game was a tier 2. We did the Ashwood Abbey, and it was fun. I am interested also in endowments, so that's kind of I go either way. I like the endowments, but I like the more, like he said, more free flow of compact, less rigid.
That's the primary difference, no, between tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. The compacts don't have endowments, conspiracies do have. How do we summarize the difference between these two?
The quickest summary is compacts are a step above just the cell, which is the group of hunters. They have resources that they can draw on, but their resources are limited. Conspiracies, on the other hand, while not, I don't want to say they have infinite resources, because that's not exactly true. They're the ones that can foot the bill if they need to go after something. Let's say if they're based in Australia and they need to go after something in Russia, they can foot that bill. While a compact is probably not going to be able to foot that bill, they're going to be able to foot a bill maybe from South Africa to Nigeria or something like that, something more local. So
I see.
It's the difference. Basically, a cell, you're going to be kind of tied to a city. A compact, you're going to be tied more to a region rather than a city. And then a conspiracy tends to be worldwide or a very large region.
Hearing that, it's okay either side where we'll end up, but I would think tier 3 looks like an experience that is more global. Maybe that's what I'm looking for also, so tier 3 maybe. But I haven't seen tier 2, so maybe I'm totally biased. It's possible. So either way I'm fine, but tier 3 probably sounds a bit more, with the endowments and whatnot, looks more like what I would go with.
Crüjen, Gandhi?
I mean, my go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I can work with either. It doesn't particularly matter. I know in very early discussions, I think we were leaning more towards. I mean, I was leaning more towards tier 2. But that is purely because I just wanted to go Union if we were doing rural Appalachia. But ultimately, it doesn't entirely matter. You know, we can wing it. We can alter concepts. So whatever people want to do.
I mean, for my concept, I had kind of put together an idea where, at first I was thinking, that the character would do well with an endowment or two, but then I looked at that and I said, it doesn't really fit with one of the conspiracies, so I think I'm just gonna beg, borrow, and steal some merit dots for the investment from the ST. I guess one consideration that we could have in this is if we want, hey, we're here locally dealing with this Appalachian stuff because we're Appalachian people, that sounds like a good fit for a tier 2. If it's some of our characters are coming in, like being sent in of, oh, something big is afoot, then maybe doing something more tier 3. So the character concept that I had wasn't really built towards being someone that people would be sending into trouble spots or things like that. But, I'm also flexible on all that because I don't have anything on a sheet yet.
Right, so we have one person pretty solidly in tier 2, one person pretty solidly in tier 3, and then 3 people saying it can go either way.
Go either way.
Excellent. So I think in this case, let's stick with tier 2, I think. It's a little bit more grounded, and I feel like certain events that will happen might be somewhat trivialized by a certain level of endowments and the like, a certain amount of resources to throw at a problem. So I feel like tier 2 somewhat limits that. So with that being stated, I believe Gandhi has already mentioned the Union as being one of the options. The others are the Long Night, the Loyalist of Thule, Network 0, 9 Stars, Null Mysterious, and the Sworn. It's not the Sworn, it's just Sworn. Quick rundowns of them. The Unions are your regular Joes and Janes. They saw their neighborhood, their area, being disturbed by monsters and took up arms. The Sworn are you know what? Actually, I think I am going to back off of Sworn. That is very Native American-esque, and one of those things I feel like that is a little culturally touchy at times, so it might be just better to stay away from. Now that I've looked at it. Null Mysterious, the organization for rational assessment of the supernatural. They're your scientists. They study and research the supernatural. Nine Stars are essentially a police force, but they are mostly located in Hong Kong, which kind of puts them out just by their location. Network 0 are the secret frequency. Somewhat similar, they're about knowledge, but they are also very much attempting to reveal the supernatural. They're the ones that are posting, oh, you go to this location at this time, this happens. This is all part of a, supernatural underbelly. The Loyalists of Thule are German occultists originally. Once again, that kind of puts them out of the scope. The Long Night are the Tribulation Militia. They're non-denominational, but they basically believe the end of times have come, and they are one of the few either left behind or tasked with trying to keep the end of the world, at least, from harming so many people. Obviously, they have different viewpoints because they are non-denominational, so that can be moved hither or thither as needed. So, Gandhi, you had mentioned you wanted you.
The last one you mentioned
A
could
long night.
work. Long night, yeah, sort of group of sort of prepper.
Crüjen?
So actually, the compact that really speaks to me is actually the Loyalists of Thule, because I think that's part of what I was envisioning for my character's backstory. That, for example, she has a birthmark on her arm, and her family, who is very insulated from her extended family, said, we don't talk to them, they're crazy. She has a distant relative pass away. She goes and they see she's got that weird birthmark on her arm, and that's what starts to induct her into the possibility of hunting and things like that. So I know that the Loyalists of Thule don't have much of a presence in Appalachia, but I'm saying that she's a distant relative, and they're taking that birthmark to be a sign that she is chosen, or that actually does manifest. As I said, I'm interested in buying something with merit dots to give me a little bit of a preternatural advantage. What say you?
The book does warn of something very specific. It does warn that crossing the streams too much with compacts or conspiracies either will lead to, because of the viewpoint of the Vigil being so different between these groups, it's almost inevitable there will be party conflict. If that is something you still wish to pursue with that knowledge, I personally can be okay with it, but I would also need everybody else to be okay with there being a different compact within the cell. And with that, the differing viewpoints being, because that would be something that should be addressed eventually. It would need to come up of the differing viewpoints within the code that the hunters follow in their vigil.
Which is fair. And again, this is not something to where I had my heart set on that compact. I also, can look at it and say, if we would rather have me be something more homogenous that's recently inducted in, it's not like I was really anticipating spending XP on Loyalists of Thule. I just, have the eventual request that I want to put to the ST. So I can either be something official. I can either be Loyalists of Thule. I could be just officially not in a compact, but still willing to hunt the monsters. Or I could be, in a single compact if that's what we want to go with.
Everybody okay with that? Those ideas?
Yeah.
I think given the setting,
Good.
it's probably that thing of you put differences aside. This is do or die time now.
Fair enough.
Kind of makes sense.
She's also not going to be heavily invested in, according to the Loyalists of Thule, we should do, and it's going to be, if it looks like a monster, we're going to hit it until it stops moving.
So, Pooter.
Yes. I'm not 100% sure. I was kind of leaning toward either No Mysterious or Network Zero, but they're kind of up in the air for me.
So one of the more intellectuals. Let's just put it kind of like that and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Martin?
I had two concepts, but one of them was very tied to, I think, the endowments and whatnot, more of an exorcist type of a person, but I don't think that would play in the Appalachia. He needs to be something like Rome's exorcist coming in. So that I don't think would work in this case, or it may. Chronicles of Darkness has its own banishment, binding type of things going on.
Yeah.
So if we stick to that, two concepts I have in mind. Maybe we start with the one that doesn't go with that. One concept is one that uses some supernatural merits. That somebody with like a psychic of sorts that could be a kind of either loyalist of Tool, or maybe in the null mysterious, either an occultist or a scientist, basically, somehow got into these things exposed through the psychic powers and whatnot, and became a hunter to use that against the supernatural things going. That's one concept, but that relies on supernatural merits, basically. The other is more I would go with the Long Night, probably. More of the town priest or something of the sort that's essentially conducting seances and things like these and trying to exorcise some of the ephemeral things that may be coming across. So I'm gravitating between these two.
Alright, so I've heard 2 of the Longest Night so far. So that seems to be prevailing ideal. So with that being stated, Pooter, would you be okay with the Longest Night?
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't dead set on either of those. That was of the compacts. Those are what were just stood out to me. But I'm fine with Longest Night. That was kind of third choice.
Okay.
The more upfront ones.
Gandhi, you okay with that?
We can make it work. I mean, at the end of the day, well, the difference between the Long Night and the Union in rural Appalachia is a matter of pure spectacality. So.
All right. With that being said, Crüjen, would you still want to? You want to work within out of those 3 ideas that you had tossed around? Which one would you rather work with? And then at that, so would you rather be kind of more of a freelance, no compact? Would you rather be part of the Long Night, or would you prefer be part of the Loyalist of Thule and putting aside certain differences? Because I feel like there might be a few differences between these 2 compacts.
Right. Just purely from a mechanical point of view, I think to have status in a compact means that you get a dot of status in that, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, you get a dot of status.
There is a benefit to 1 dot status in Loyalists of Thule. So from a mechanical perspective, it makes sense to say be in a compact. But again, by story wise, I don't. It doesn't sound like we're going for character concepts that are going to be so zealous that they won't accept someone that is not 100% in line with the Long Night or Union, whichever direction we're going for. And again, it's something to where I kind of like the idea of having shared enemies, certainly having no end of shared enemies, but not necessarily being on the same page. So, especially since, as you said, the Loyalists of Thule are not going to have much of a presence in the setting or things like that. If you don't consider it cheap for me to say officially I'm Loyalist of Thule, but I've got a phone number somewhere of someone who speaks some weird language in the old country, and I just gain the willpower benefits when I'm risking that. If you think that's acceptable and not, cheating, sure. Otherwise, it'll probably just be officially unaffiliated by any compact. She's interested, and that's what this chronicle is for her, is she's flirting with the Long Night and, seeing how they flirt back with her.
So, the one dot for Loyalists of Thule is you have to atone for past atrocities and understand the knowledge you gain will save lives. When risking willpower on academics or occult-based roles, gain 2 willpower instead of 1, regardless of your current rating. I don't
have occult or academics, so.
I don't really think that that's cheating, as it's phrased. As for the rest, would you be okay with that inter-party strife? Because there's going to be a little friction. Obviously, I would want it to be all within good spirits.
Have we had a game where there has not been inter-party strife yet?
Okay, yeah, okay. Fair enough. You got me. We literally had a changeling go true fae on their motley. Like, fair enough. So if people are okay with that, then feel free to go Loyalist of Thule.
Do it. We shall convert thee.
Great start.
Well, if that's going to involve removing a birthmark, good luck.
Okay. That being stated, we have, at any point, if you get more of a solid concept, let me know and feel free to talk about it. But right at this time, we now have compact chosen. People have some ideas of where we are going. How about virtues and vices?
Question before we go any further. Sorry. What year is this one set in?
Okay. Yes, the year. A super secret notes that everybody knows I have. That has things marked out in time. Alright, so this is going to be taking place at the end of 2025, going into 2026. So we're not talking future. It's still very much modern age. It's just specifically in the timeline of events.
In regards to actual in-game timeline, where are we at in the stage of world dying? Are people dropping dead in the streets yet?
No, that happens mostly between 2027 and 2028, when that's when the disease starts causing mass deaths. Right now, deaths are rare, but the disease rate is roughly, I believe I stated in Deviant, it was at 50%? 50-60%, somewhere in that range. Yeah. So we're looking at 45 to 55%. So a lot of people are sick with the contagion at this contagion outbreak that
just so I understand this, so the contagion is the background story that's happening here. Is that what they're saying?
It is part of the meta plot that is ongoing, yes.
Okay.
There are going to be references to it, and there are going to be things that happen because of it. Your level of engagement with the actual contagion itself can depend wildly. If you guys dive deep into it, then it'll be a lot about the contagion. if you guys don't necessarily dive as much into it, then it's still there, and there are certain things that will have to be dealt with because of it. But outside of that, it will not be a main focus, with the exceptions of when there's a situation that, okay, this is happening because of the contagion, and we're having to deal with this situation.
So it's a meta plot. We choose to some degree how we are engaging with it, but it's not the main meal. We are more locally on Appalachia and what's going on there. Did I get that right?
Who was just getting ready to speak? I know you had spoke, Martin.
Crüjen, I think.
Yeah, somebody was saying something.
No, I was just saying that's how it would be to start. It'll start with like us hunters doing our hunter things, and bits and pieces of the contagion may fall in if we choose to follow them. Then it can focus on that. Otherwise, probably toward the end of this section, hunter is when the contagion might, pop up a little more prominently.
Awesome. Just to go back to the point you started with on the virtues and the vice. I'm thinking for my character, fate and wrath. Fate being the virtue as a exorcist type of person, or basically using seances to heal that. He relies on the power of God. I mean, the belief on the divine is what he's going with. Wrath is as he has seen a lot of the evil that these ephemeral things have done so far. So he feels the wrath of these beings. He wish he could do more than just removing them from the person. He couldn't find a way to hurt them yet, but that's part of his vices. That essentially he wish he could do something more than just removing them.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'm thinking a virtue of compassionate, and a vice of vindictiveness.
Nice.
She's a real soft touch until you get her upset, and then she won't let you forget.
That's kind of the mental image I was getting. That's why I was just like, nice. Because I actually think I know somebody like that in my personal life.
I'm trying to think of the word for the virtue in question, but what I'm thinking is somebody who has essentially got a very strong personal morality, but a very violent side. It's the guy who's using a homemade flamethrower and you can see him smile. But like I say, I'm just trying to think of the right word for the virtue of that kind of very decided moral. Even if it's personal morals, they're still very, very fixed. Nothing's going to get him to shift from that.
There's just a sense of fairness and justice. That's an example in the book.
I don't think you could just say like steadfast or something.
Yes, steadfast is probably the best one actually. That's like the
Or dedicated.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Dedicated, perfect. Thank you.
The dedicated virtue, and then your vice is going to be
Violent.
violence. Gandhi?
You see, I hate when you make me make characters right off the top of my head like this. Because I know I'm going to change them, right? But I have arbitrarily written down forgiving and gluttonous right now. Mainly because I haven't had a character that's had a drinking problem yet. We should tack that onto the list.
Hey, that's
Go on.
Food?
Let's see. I'm thinking loyal for the virtue and lazy for the vice.
Right. that, I think it is time for us to get into attribute dots. Now, instead of going through, I think let's keep this somewhat vague, because if we start talking about where every dot is going, it takes a while. So for those, it's 5, 4, 3. You choose which attribute or which set of attributes you want to put 5 points into, which one you want to put 4, and which one you want to put 3 in. Crüjen, could you give us your 5, 4, 3?
Sure. I'm primarily physical, secondary social, tertiary mental.
Right. Gandhi?
I'm thinking of, again, I hate making characters right off the list, but like this, usually I come somewhat prepared. But I'm thinking mental, social, physical right now.
Okay. Martin?
I'm also gravitating towards the mental, social, physical, based on the kind of things that I think Bishop would end up doing.
5?
Physical, mental, social.
Yep. Same physical, mental, social.
Okay, so in the immortal words of a Hailstrom song, lack of social grace is incoming. So with that, skills. Mental, physical, social, 1174. Live?
So probably the other way, it's flipping the last two. So physical, social, mental. But just to let everyone else know, it's going to be the less actual social skills. It's going to be more into intimidation, subterfuge, streetwise, that kind of social side.
Gandhi?
Thinking right now, social, mental, physical, but I don't know.
Pooter?
I'm leaning toward a similar to the attributes. Just match them: physical, mental, social.
Martin?
Not exactly matching the attributes, but just a slight deviation. It's the mental first, physical second, social third, which is the social and the physical is just replaced.
Okay. Crüjen?
Most of my points are in social, and then physical, and then mental.
Okay. Obviously, feel free to, throughout the upcoming week before session 1, feel free to share more into your skills. I don't necessarily want to go into the skill dots because we have done that before, and we would be here for another an hour. So, I think at this point, I want to ask for something that I think is probably one of the more important things that need to be asked here. Touchdowns. Usually those are asked along with your virtue and vice, but because some characters are not fully formed yet, I feel like now that we're kind of almost at the halfway mark here, it's a good time to start thinking about something that's a little bit more integral to your character. So, Pooter, I don't think I've started with you. So, touchdowns.
Let's see here. Well, in the last game, I chose the child. That was fun. That was interesting. But I don't want to copy what I did the last time, because where's the fun in that? So let's go with nosy neighbor. That sounds annoying.
Nose neighbor.
Which page are touchstones on?
They are 73.
Thank you.
Of course, they're just samples you can make up your own.
Yeah, just get.
It's always good to have a few examples looking you in the face, even if you're going to create your own.
Yeah.
Crüjen?
So I'm thinking for this of having a touchstone where it's a location where it's her family's bakery, because that's always where, you know, hustle and bustle in life and feeding people and all that stuff. She went away to college. Some bad stuff went down. She came back and she's all like, I just want to, you know, bake in the bakery.
Okay. This is a note that I had taken from my last Hunter game, because we also had somebody that had chosen a location. I'm okay with it. I do want to state, though, the amount of involvement a location has tends to be more placed on the player rather than the storyteller. If the player never goes to that place, unless I'm literally threatening to blow it up for some reason, it can't get into too much trouble. It's a location. So
Would you like if I further specify from there, like the manager of the bakery? Like it's something to where she has a connection with him instead.
This isn't really trying to dissuade you from choosing a location. This is more just... I'm encouraging you to interact with the place on a regular basis then.
Okay.
It's more... I don't want to dissuade you from picking it, because it's a perfectly fine option and it makes logical... You know, it makes actually for a good story. It's just... If you never go there, then unless I'm literally kind of shoehorning it in, it won't come up. So I just want that knowledge to be on the table, and if you're okay bringing it in more often, then hey, let's go with it. I'm perfectly fine.
Sounds good.
Live?
I'm a little bit uncertain, so I'm going to say go on to the I'll defer to the others, and then hopefully both Martin and Gandhi will choose the ones that I'm musing on, and then it will make my decision a lot easier.
Martin?
I'm thinking about going with the... Maybe I need to support this with the merits or whatnot, but want to get your opinion. Mentor, Bishop will have a mentor. I'm gonna just call him Lucas or something just as standard. His mentor, I'm going to go with. He's the person who taught him a lot about the supernatural world and whatnot. And he's in the area from time to time, but he's traveling also. So I'll be communicating with him from time to time, but he's more in the church hierarchy and he's called often all over the place. When he's around, I interact with him in person, but otherwise, over the phone or something, I basically get his advice on some cases I am having difficulty with. That's the kind of touchstone that I have in mind, if it makes sense to you.
Right. So, I think I can work with that. There are certain things I can do with that. So if you... Yours is a mentor. Excellent. Gandhi.
You know what I'm going to say? I don't know.
Well, stop saying that then and just...
Oh, I've got it.
Okay. Goodbye. No, obviously this character does not completely exist yet, right? I think the way I kind of want to spin it is more I mean, it's kind of unoriginal picking one of the doctrines here, but I kind of want to spin them more as a, yes, there's some demons out there, but maybe we don't have to burn them yet. Maybe they can, still do some good in the world or something. I don't know. But I don't know. I kind of want my touchstone to lean into that past, but I don't know what that is yet. So, sorry.
Well, I mean,
I've got something.
all right. Just let me address Gandhi here. I mean, from what it sounds like, your past touchstone might be a monster that you've hunted but you let live.
Yeah, but yes, but I have no further development on that. Something along those lines is what I'm thinking, though.
I'll put the monster right now, and if you don't think of anything, I mean, part of the storyteller's deal is
I will think of something
monsters
before the next week. I can guarantee you that, but I cannot guarantee you within the next 20 minutes.
Live.
So with where my character is sort of falling into now, I'd like to have the kind of the slightly call it the recluse. It's that guy who can't get out of the house, so it's doing the basics. It's going around there, it's dropping off shopping, it's mowing his lawn, it's getting leaves out of the gutter, and it's just those few kind of normal jobs, a few hours a week, and just that everything in that time is just normal.
So aiding. So the recluse,
The
person.
The recluse, yeah. He's like I say, I've got this. I've got a concept in mind, and the two fit together. So it's as more details become apparent, I'll let you know.
All right, so we're now going to touch on skill specialties. Everybody gets 3 skill specialties. This is going to start really shaping up how maybe your characters got these. It'll start filling in some little backstory holes, as it were. Pooter, I know I started with you last time, but
That's fine. Let's see. I've got a little more solid concept now. I'm thinking more of like a prepper survivalist. So maybe crafts for like gunsmithing, firearms. Something obviously need a gun, and then need a third. Probably, well, survival makes sense for a survivalist.
and if you're in rural Appalachia, I mean,
Yeah. I don't have like a specific survival specialty in mind yet, but that's the skill I was thinking.
okay, that's fine. You can iron out those details later.
Yeah.
Martin?
I'm thinking about the occult. It is going with probably something on the ephemeral ghosts and spirits. As I'm thinking these two, as it would make sense for somebody with like exorcism ambitions. Beyond that, I'm thinking maybe if what would make sense here. Evangelism is coming from the long night, I believe, so we'll get 1 dot.
Yeah.
That's an extra, so that definitely would make sense for Bishop. What else would make sense? I'm thinking either something like what's the best way to put this? Maybe counseling or something, or how would we phrase this as a specialization? Persuasion, proselytizing, or converting. As fate is that he probably would also try to bring people more to the religion, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
On that note, the first dot of status for the long night, you gain evangelism as a free specialty in either persuasion or expression.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. Persuasion, a few dots. Evangelism is probably that already. So in that case, perhaps either a He's maybe this being Appalachia, he's also into some firearms and whatnot, and he's into some pistols. But I'm unable to combine that as a background for a preacher with the
I believe there's an anime about that called Priest.
God forgive.
Exactly.
God
So I don't
forgive.
want to be the preacher. So it could be the preacher if. So I don't want to be too cliche, but it could end up being in that. So I'm warning you. If you go with that, I could be the preacher here.
It could also be something your character likes to do as a hobby. It doesn't have to be something that's their job.
True. And got good at it. So
Yeah.
Just got images. He's got a bumper sticker that says "God forgives, I don't."
there you go. So it's now the bishop suddenly starts to take a darker tone. Yes. That's there. Yeah. Okay. So pistols, firearms, or small pistols. I guess that's that's the next one.
Live.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what I've got. Is also going to be firearms and automatic rifles.
I chose shotgun, by the way.
Shotgun. Crüjen.
So I've got like no intersection with anyone here, which is good. For athletics, sprinting. For stealth, B&E, and for empathy, angry people. I've never worked at a bakery, but if they're anything like fast food, you deal with a lot of angry people.
So is that calming down angry people or getting people angry?
Well, it's empathy, and to be fair, she probably has. She's got a little bit of. She has some persuasion on this sheet, and is about getting people angry. She was an animal activist, so that also.
And no more.
Yeah,
There we
I
go.
said skill specialization, empathy, angry people.
Gandhi.
Working on that. I have empathy. I took one empathy, just like, I don't know, motives, reason. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I'm thinking specialty wise. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not prepared.
Maybe just a broad, maybe not a specific thing yet. Like I still hadn't figured out my survival specialty yet. A general area, perhaps.
I'll probably put another one into academics, and maybe the third into a physical. Probably just because my combat dice pools will suck right now. So maybe having a specialty in, I don't know. I should just use firearms because I can't hit anything for anything, but I might go weaponry and just double down on being a wet noodle.
This is where me as a GM, I also have to make a question because it's happened 14 times, I think, and counting. Has somebody taken the computer skill before I throw a locked computer in front of the group?
Yes, I got 1 dot. I've got 1 dot.
I have not taken it this time.
I have 1.
I got 2 dots, but I don't think a preacher going computers is working. So
There's some holy water on it.
I know it's I built the website of the church for how can we.
I legitimately threw a locked computer in front of 5 vampires that had 0 dots collectively for computers, and they went Zoolander on it. Where are the files in the computer? I just smashed it open. Where are the files? And I cried on the
I was a scientist, not a computerist.
Or when science meant something.
Hey,
In the 1800s.
if it was about drugs, I got you. Computer, I can't find your files, but I can make you some heroin.
He was a chemist.
I can make you forget about the files.
A computer is just a modern mechanical Turk. Turks are full of blood. There you go.
So, with that, let's go ahead and hit up merits. Now, The question has been mentioned and has been brought up on a couple of different occasions. Supernatural merits. I know... Let me just ask, how do people feel about them being included?
As long as they're not the kind of the excessively, I'm happy with it as long as they're not kind of the sort of character breaking, game breaking type thing.
I mean, I have no problem with them. If I was doing if this was like a tier 3, I would be perfectly fine and would probably ask for some, but since I'm not, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm not taking any, even if I was allowed to. And as long as it's not like walking up in every other scene, yes, I will use pyrokinesis and light the building on fire. Like, I don't know. I don't care.
Martin?
I mean, I asked for it, obviously. I think that could go with it, but in all honesty, it uses willpower, so it cannot be used that frequently. That's the limitation. I would say there is a merit on Hurt Locker called object fetishism. We don't use that merit because that merit gives free willpower per session, which I've seen that does become breaking. So as long as that willpower is the limitation, I think it could go just to protect people from that. Every scene it becomes the thing that keeps happening.
Crüjen?
I have no objection.
Alright, so with that being stated, I will allow supernatural merits at this time, and it will be monitored. And there might be some questions that are brought up if you run into another hunter group by any stretch. So it will definitely not be a one size band-aid. There are going to be consequences to using them outside of the willpower, more story-driven consequences. So I am okay with them. With that being said, this is where we get to our merit dots. But before we get to that, we're going to take a 10-15 minute break to get some water, restroom or whatever. We will in 5 to 10 minutes.
Sure. Bon appetit, guys. See you in a bit.
And we're back. So, merit dots? Now, Crüjen, you had stated a lot of your merits are going to be based around, are going to be bought after you figure out what you want to do, correct?
Right. So effectively, one of the things that I really kind of have gotten my hopes up for, and I am prepared for them to be dashed, is the idea of my character possessing a piece of equipment that's essentially a family heirloom that's a weapon. And the residual image in my mind is, if you've played Doom Eternal, when the Marauder comes in and and has just what looks like an axe stave, and then it actually has a red glowing axe blade from it. That's why I said that I sort of pictured her with a birthmark that's one of those things to where the family or the Loyalists of Thule have said, oh, only those who have this mark will the weapon accept, or whatever like that. And so it looks much like a blunt instrument, except thinking in terms of it actually has more of a blade that lets it perhaps cut ghosts, or perhaps do a little extra damage, or things like that. The closest that I found the equivalent for it is the endowment of Ephemeral Weapon in Paraspiritism on page 117. So that definitely has an example of willpower costs and what it's capable of doing. Again, with flavor text, something slightly similar to that, but not precisely along those lines. So that's something that I was wanting to put out there and to have you see. And if you're to come and say, you can do that, but it's going to cost 8 merit dots, or if you're saying you can do something like that, but it's mostly just going to be flavor, it's not going to do anything special to anything special, then that costs 0 merit dots, or whatnot like that.
So, I'm looking at this, I'm reading through it on page 117, and how about not necessarily starting out with it, but it's something, you'll find something akin to ephemeral weapon. The reason why I'm hesitant on the idea of letting it out straight off of the gate is just because straight out of the gate there's always some growing pains at the start of a game where people are trying to figure things out, the GM's trying to figure out what the players can handle. That's one of the big things with D&D is challenge rating. Challenge rating means nothing, especially depending on your group of players and their characters. So, for something like that, I want to wait just a little bit, just so we can everybody gets their feet under them, and it's something that then I can be like, okay, then I can accurately judge, is this going to be game breaking in some way? Is this going to become an issue in some way? Are you willing to accept that answer?
I'm willing to accept that. So it sounds like what it is that off the gate she will have what she assumes to be a family heirloom that is some kind of truncheon, and if 12 sessions later, she's swinging away like a softball bat, because she has softball. That's why she has the weaponry and stuff like that. If 12 sessions from now, if all she does is break some skulls with it, that's great. If we get a couple sessions in and you're all like, your birthmark glows, spend a willpower, all of a sudden it's now got a blade on it that only you can see, I'm also happy with that.
All right, then, yeah, just let me get a feel of the group, etc., and I will, of course, keep you in the loop on that as well.
Sounds good.
So, no merit dots required at this time.
Okay.
So with that, does anybody have merit dots at least mostly figured out?
I think so.
Live, go ahead.
I've got 2 dots firefight, 3 dots in safe house, the 3 dot in professional training, and a dot in resources.
How many dots in firefight was it again?
2.
Had one. You have one more, I believe, because professional training's free.
I will. Oh yeah, of course. I'll add that to safe house then. That's. I'm going full prepper.
All right. Pooter?
I still need 3 to spend.
All right.
But so far I've got Backroad Atlas, Danger Sense, Direction Sense, Natural Tinkerer, and Resources at 1. So 3 more.
Martin?
Just a question about the mathematics of this. How many merit dots are we talking about? 7 or 10?
It starts off at 7. And you get 1 free dot of professional training. So,
3 dots of professional training. Okay.
So you'll have 1 dot in professional training and then 7 other dots.
7 other dots. On that note, and do we get a 1 dot on Long Night as status too? Like a free dot, or is it no dot?
It starts off as 1 dot in the status as well.
In the status as well. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so if you look at 7 dots distribution, I'm gonna add 1 more dot to professional training, and 2 dot meditative mind that essentially allows me to deal with the type of things that I'm gonna have to do it. Just to make things a bit easier on the supernatural merits, I just picked ones that made sense from a ephemeral point of view. There's one called medium, which allows me to either call one or basically allow me to also remove the possession from one person. The other is called Hardened Exorcist, which allows me to add occult dots into, let's say, abjuration of a spirit. That's what I have picked so far in terms of the supernatural merits. There's one that is a hunter merit called Gut Feeling, which gives the hunter kind of a investigation-based understanding of a supernatural is coming in, and that's where I am at the moment with all 7 that I've had. I'm penniless, so I'm broke but not broken, and that's where I am. I think we'll get some other XP later on as a start, or that's what's going to happen. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
yeah, that'll be at the very end.
All right, that's what I'm going to do with the merits so far. Yeah.
Gandhi.
So far, I am still debating things. I've kind of reshifted some things around, like attributes and whatnot.
Yes.
But right now, merit-wise, I've just taken defensive combat with Brawl and Indomitable, and I'm debating what I want to do. I want to take a couple social merits here, but I don't know what yet.
And to Gandhi's point, we are building characters here, but right now we are not at the start of the campaign quite yet. So within the week between now and then, if you feel like something should change or needs to change on your character sheet, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know of the change. So we're hammering away details, but they are not set. Once session 1 gets started, then they are fairly set in stone then. Pooter, have you rounded out your merits at this point? Your last 3?
Well, those last 3 aren't really applicable right now because those are for later. Okay. I already have the 7.
Okay.
So I'm good for now, yeah.
Crüjen, now that you know how many merit dots that took.
So I bought into Danger Sense, a little bit of Hardy, Relentless, Tight-Lipped, and for professional training, I'm going with Seance.
Okay. Little training and seances.
I
What is it?
mean, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it does. It is saying that term profession is deliberately defined loosely, so long as it has skills that are employed regularly and a community of similarly dedicated individuals, and can be consulted for advice in tradecraft. Any field may potentially qualify for this merit.
Yeah.
So, in the bakery, there's that wall because it's a hometown bakery. You know, down there in the heart of Appalachia, there's the wall where people put up band notices, all on top of old band notices and things like that. And there's some stuff for speak with the dead, seance, communicate, and she's gotten invested with that and made some friends.
Excellent. I was actually just going to ask, what is everybody else's professional training in?
Get there when we get there, all right?
We know
I couldn't
Gandhi
find. I couldn't find one for the gun-toting preacher, so I went with nothing so far.
I mean,
I'm formulating that.
You could just professional training preacher is a thing.
Yeah, pastor,
Yes.
priest, yeah.
Yeah.
True, but then it gives occult and empathy. Maybe I go with that. Yeah, sure. That's not bad actually.
And now that you've said it aloud, you're like, wait.
that could be.
Pooter?
Not 100% sure. I'm thinking maybe he runs like a shop selling, like an army surplus type shop, selling guns and prepper gear and whatnot. I don't know what that would be called though.
Shop owner. Store owner.
Shop owner. All right.
Small
Nothing wrong.
business?
Small business owner.
Yeah.
That's kind of loose on the skills, isn't it? Yeah.
Sometimes
Sure.
that's how it is. Live?
In all likelihood, military background. So, military training. Yeah, I'm just moving some things around at the moment as well because I might go for a couple more dots than that.
Have we gotten there yet, Gandhi?
I think we're Appalachia. Maybe he was a minor, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with that though, because I don't know what skills would be relevant there.
Athletics definitely fits in
Maybe.
there.
Survival, maybe.
Survival.
Weaponry, maybe if you're using a pickaxe as your weapon.
He just shifted away from weaponry. You can't tell me this now. I don't know. But no, I'm thinking it's probably something like blue collar, just like almost laborer-esque.
Okay.
Nothing academic.
Stand outside the Home Depot, wait for people to pick you up.
Okay, now.
What? It's me.
I know you do that. So, now here comes the fun part.
How do you select asset skills on the sheet?
You don't. You
just have to
write 'em down
remember.
somewhere.
Yeah.
You,
Oh, okay.
Mark them down, remember it.
mark them probably on either page.
I'll add them in other traits.
Hold on. Hunter. That's mummy. It should be on it. You could either mark them on page 2 or page 3.
I've just put them on other traits. They have dots, but I've just put asset skills.
Oh, the endowment section, yeah, you can put them there.
That works.
Says we're not using endowments.
Now,
Can I just put them on the same page?
Next.
fun question that everybody here gets to weigh in on. Tactics. What is your cell's 3 favored tactics?
Yeah.
Gun.
That's not what tactics are, technically.
Depends on the
Pretty
tactic.
sure gun is the tactics.
What is a tactic?
Okay, Pooter, you have personal experience with using tactics, so
Yes, they're very similar to teamwork actions, but different. Same but different. Exactly the same but totally different. So let's use an example. There's identification as a mental tactic. So the requirements: the primary actor needs 2 dots of occult. So whoever has that, well, they'll be the primary actor, and then the supporting actors will have. It lists like other skills that you might want to add, and then when you roll, you risk a willpower. You don't spend it unless you lose the roll, I think, but you risk it, which is you get other benefits, and then depending on how you do, you either you identify what you're looking for or whatever action you're trying to accomplish. So it's like an expanded teamwork action specifically for hunters.
All right, super. Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if it factors in, but I do have cover and fire as a merit, so I don't know if that's going to help with anything in that
I don't
kind of regard.
think merits themselves help for tactics. It's mainly just the pure stats, strength and attributes and skills.
yeah, so mental tactics are identification, monster lore, profiling, and sweep. Physicals are called shot, capture, controlled emulation, corral, harvest, lure, and scatter. And then the social ones are adrenaline rush, expose, and freeing mind. If you
So
have...
what?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say if to better be able to choose our tactics, it'd be good to know like what do we as a group want to accomplish in our hunts, both as players and as characters. What are we hunting for? Why are we hunting? That can determine what tactics we would prefer to use over others. Because you can use any tactic you want, but our favorite tactics we get bonuses to.
Favorite tactic? Is that like we choose points and give it? What's a favorite tactic even mean?
You get 3 favored tactics, so you can use any of these tactics at any time. But your favored one gets special bonuses because this is how your group has decided this is how we want to combat the supernatural. Some groups want to set things on fire, so they'll take controlled immolation. Others want to more so capture their monsters rather than actually kill them, so they'll take capture. Either group still has access to one or the other. It's just the group that likes to capture monsters, they're going to be really good at capturing those monsters. They're going to get special bonuses when trying to do so.
I see. I mean,
Practice is perfect.
It does look like we are armed to teeth, if I may say so. We got pistol, shotgun, automatic rifles, and I think some other exotic equipment. So hardware heavy team. What would be a good tactic for that?
Let's see.
Cold shot.
Cold shot would be a good one, yeah.
I could really see us doing lure a bit because we've got some people that are a little more like I'm not really cut out for combat. I'm not looking at Gandhi, but I'm looking at Gandhi saying, you know,
Hey, I got my fists now.
We're in a mouth.
You're feeling like Gandhi is gonna be the target of the lure.
I will walk in. I will ask the monster, "Here's a Bible. Please convert." No, all right, and then the windows explode in a hail of gunfire.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's another thing. Tactics are pretty good for characters that may not actually be combat characters, where they think, you know, if a fight's starting, what can I do? I can't shoot anything. But with tactics, they can still participate in a hunt and be useful.
Very helpful.
I think, to be honest, we choose 3, right?
3,
yeah. Ones, yeah.
Yeah, because I think identification could be a really useful one as well.
Yes, that's a good one.
Know what you're up against.
And I've heard a high occult, so I was thinking about that. The other is lure. Lure also looks like it does use occult. I'm looking at that now.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 are possible. some don't make any sense. Like there's something called a harvest. Like what is harvest even would come into play?
If you want body parts.
I mean, that puts us in the slasher path. Right? Are we talking about trophy collection?
Well, it's
Yeah, that
yeah.
might-
If you're
going
doing
like
research,
Yeah, Chiron when you're using.
Okay. So we're not just trophy collection. We are talking about some meaningful harvesting of the. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you guys were playing, if this turned into like a Chiron game, I'd be like, you guys probably want harvest because that's part of what Chiron does. They harvest monster parts to graph onto themselves.
Finding one that not to basically, we don't know some of the supernaturals and may not know their weaknesses. Identification or monster lore are two that I'm looking at. Because
Identification, I thought, was a really good one.
It's almost in the ghost and the spirits, ban, bane, discover. If you don't know these, you go in face to face, you are in real. You run out of that place. You just don't touch that thing, kind of. It's that. So would that be identification or the lore?
yeah, I'm down for one of those, either of those two. I think the previous game we had identification is pretty useful.
Well, yep. No objection.
I would argue between identification and lore is, especially if we're going backwards to Appalachia, to go monster lore, because maybe we're not going to find out this is a Jersey Devil that got way off track or something like that. But if we know, hey, if we shoot it with Jersey Devil bullets, it's going to die, then we don't really have to care what it is.
And
But it's the same thing of identification is so you know how to fight it. I think they're kind of there is some mutual crossover in those.
identification find out if it is supernatural or not. The monster lore finds its weakness. If I'm using the WOD codex to find out, that's the difference. So one is this supernatural? The other is, will it actually be killed by a wooden bullet type of thing?
Yeah, basically, one's how to deal with it, one's actually finding it.
Yeah.
I got gut feeling as a merit, so identification looks like gut feeling merit is overlapping with it, a lot of it. We can all get it.
And what's more terrifying than a group of hunters that never doubts what they find as supernatural?
When we discovered that it is not, that puts the fear of God back to us, which is not bad.
No. If it turns out to not be supernatural, that was just a test. Test of our faith. You gotta keep killing. You gotta keep killing.
True. That is true. How can you doubt yourself? You cannot.
So,
I'm okay with either of them. It's I think, but rest really, we got two more.
how does Gandhi? You've been silent.
I've been reading them. Between what identification and monster lore, which one we're thinking of taking?
A note about monster lore: the secondary actors will need social merits like contacts or status to really be effective, because they're calling in favors from people they know.
Yeah, that is also the first one. Identification. It's more occult, stealth or investigation. That also, do we have even those things, right?
Well, to be fair, also for monster lore, Resolve plus academics, up to 3 people can join in that, so at least that's an intelligence-based one.
Yeah.
Okay. So monster lore. How about this? Maybe we put the order of the ones that we want, take the top 3. Maybe we end up getting both informed and monster lore, and then go for a third one. Because we don't have any alternatives so far. I'm.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's still plenty more.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put those 2 in right now, what would be the third one?
I think something on the more actual practical approach, whereas obviously
Something, one of the physical tactics, called shot, capture, corral, or lure.
how much firearms we've got.
We are
Quite
packed. We are packed.
Quite good.
Just as a question about the Appalachian, I mean, concealed carry, there's no problem, I'm going to assume here. No? Is there a problem? Concealed carry?
Concealed carry, they might question why you're not open carrying.
Okay, okay, so that...
There's your answer.
Based on your politics, that you may get that.
There you go.
I got
Carrying
it.
on
Okay,
wall.
I like that.
Why are you hiding it, bro?
Why am I...
Yeah,
That's
what do you gotta hide, huh?
That means we need at least some physical merits that almost goes for it.
Yeah, I am kind of
Concealed.
partial. I'm kind of partial towards capture, just because it lets me go in and tackle them. And I mean,
You who's afraid of being grappled, you want to tackle?
yes, I do. Well, okay, no. So we capture them, right? And we capture them. You give them the option: convert or die. It's pretty simple, right? Like, I mean, it's just how we did it historically too, right? Well, sometimes.
The Spanish Inquisition.
Well,
Vampires and tell them to convert. Aren't we just like lay people Lancia Sanctum?
Lancia Sanctum, yeah, you're right. That's it.
Well, I mean, assuming we try and what would we need to capture them for besides converting?
I mean, it's a lot easier to kill an immobilized target than one that can fight back.
Oh, is that where your touchstone came
the
from?
really-
Where you look at the captured target in the eye and just like, hang on, guys, I'll take care of this one. And afterwards, you said, no, those puppy dog eyes, no, can't do it, man.
You know, first time I'm playing the Chronicles of Darkness, I asked the storyteller, what's the best condition for an enemy? He said dead. That is the best condition. Is for the enemy. The type of skill set we have, I would say, if you're looking at the primary actor, if you're going to get the capture, we need dexterity plus survival or crafts. Athletics, brawl, we are more on the firearms. Like, we need to really go in physical. Like, this is essentially 3-4 of us going trying to capture a vampire type of thing.
I would say
To be
don't
fair,
get too meta about it. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
My dex craft is pretty good. I'm pretty good with that.
You could. Okay, so you are the primary actor then. We are basically keeping it away from you. Could be. Yeah, sure. Now there you go.
And then the secondary would be wits athletics. How's your wits athletics, Gandhi? Or strength brawl?
You see, I have Dex Brawl, which I would say, I'm gonna make the argument that if I take like defensive combat, right, like I use it anyway. But no, I mean my Brawl is fine. It's a difference of 1 between strength and Dex. So
Alright. Live, any thoughts on the physical?
I just don't want to get too meta about it. I like the idea of capture. I just don't want to go, well, let's come up with really good sheets and forget about the characters.
yeah, like I feel like we have enough shooting. We don't need called shot, right? Like everybody's already got a gun. Come on, we'll do
Right.
something fancy.
True.
Capture could be good.
There's also corral or lure if we want to get it to a certain place. Away from people, perhaps?
Lure a target and surprising it. I mean, we can pick one of these that makes it 4, then we pick the top 3 because we got 3 in the box now.
Yeah.
We had 1 more and just vote on what's the main top 3? Corral or the lure? Lure is strength or manipulation, that's intimidation versus... This is a social. Corral is more social. Lure looks like wits plus composure. So what is that? A perception roll? Wits plus.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it is. So it's high perception versus high social. Corral is like convincing somebody to go somewhere. The lure is like using perception to not tip it off, I guess. That's the kind of. We got some good social, I think. Her target to a specific location. Corral is not bad, actually, I would say, or lure.
So,
I personally would vote for monster lore, capture, and lore if I had to vote for top 3 right now. I don't know about anyone else.
So, it sounds like monster lore is 1. That sounds like everybody has agreed to it. It sounds like capture has 1. It's only the identification that is a little iffy.
Versus Corral, maybe, or something.
I mean, okay, so if you want to do it this way, you guys chose the first 2. Would you be okay with me choosing a 3rd?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that, most of you are survivalists, correct? From what I heard.
Yep.
Okay. Sweep.
Sweep. Interesting.
Search a location, finding any traps or ambushers, gaining bonuses to investigating the area if there are none. So basically knowing your chances of survival in a specific area. So knowing where... Less so about knowing how to fight, because monster lore already covers that. This is knowing where to fight.
Where to fight.
That's cool.
And don't get ambushed type of. Yeah. This is good. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do too. Wits plus, again, perception. Yeah.
Hmm.
Kind of a perception roll base, sure.
Strength, athletics, dexterity, larceny, wits, investigation, or survival are the supporting roles. So
supporting. Broad wits plus investigation means intelligence, strength. Like, this is quite a lot of characters can join, and different type of looking at it. It's actually one of the good ones, it looks like.
So, with that, we are essentially done with the vast majority of character creation now. Now comes the last part. And I don't think we'll actually cover what you spend this experience point on, these experience points on right now. We'll leave that for people to find out. It says spend 3 starting experience in any traits that you like. I'm not going to say you are green hunters at this point, so I'm going to double this. You guys get 6 starting XP.
Sweet.
Now, couple of ending notes. Does anybody have any questions regarding to the story? Because that might help you know where to spend XP. Obviously, if something is spoilerish or the like, you know, I may decline to answer it, but I will let you know why. So, are there any questions regarding the story for me at this time?
Being in Appalachia and being hunter in that area, and I don't want to sound like this is gonna spoil the fun. What type of things that we have heard happening around us? What type of monsters that are more prevalent in the area? Let me put it that way.
Okay, so I haven't obviously nailed down the exact location. Appalachia is obviously a pretty big range. In one of the main cities, I think I specifically mentioned that there are vampires that are at war with each other, so there is that. That would be something that you would be well aware of. As for the general supernatural creatures in the area, that's kind of why I chose Appalachia, is because you're not going to be dealing with necessarily vampires, werewolves, and the like. You're going to be dealing with much more folklore type things. There's a lot of really nice stories in the area that have to deal with semi-intelligent animals rather than monsters. You do have some cryptids that supposedly live in the area, so it allows me to really start pulling in the horror system that Hunter provides to custom create monsters for you guys. So I don't necessarily want to say, oh, you're going to be facing this particular folklore from that area, but do expect it to be less traditional monster like vampire or this and that, and be more folklore oriented when it comes to your hunts in the area.
Perfect. Thank you for that. That helps a lot.
So one thing that I would like to weigh in and I guess bring to the group is that since the 4 other players, their characters are very invested in Long Night and things like that, what I imagine has happened is that at some point when my character was sitting in on some seances and doing some seances, eventually somehow she crossed path with your guys' group. She's sitting there with one of you being like, they think they're calling a ghost. That's not how you call a ghost. And the other character's like, yeah, I know, it's like this. They strike a friendship, and it's something to where they sort of have invited her in. And so now she's a regular part of their group, even though, again, it may not be something to where they've known each other since childhood, but they've been on enough hunts to kind of trust each other. And that's where the characters have an established sort of backstory like that. That we don't, if that's sufficient enough reason for everyone, I'm happy with that. If someone wants to say, no, let's determine it's been exactly 6 months, or they've killed exactly 3 things, or whatever like that, I'm also open. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I like that. That works really well, I think.
It does, yeah.
All right, so does anybody have... Okay, so if nobody else has any other questions for me, I think it's at this point that I want to say, does anybody have questions to anybody else to maybe further expand upon an idea that had been mentioned or anything of that nature?
Technically, I think Pooter and I are quite similar characters, so I'm interested to know what's going on narratively.
Yeah, you had mentioned your character was former military, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking mine was not military, but very pro-military. He never served in the army, but he's very supportive of, all that. So, we probably have known each other for quite a while then. Do some shopping at my place, hopefully.
Yeah. Because, what I've got for mine is Iraq or Afghanistan veteran. Potentially run-in with that kind of that wonderfully rich kind of Middle Eastern folklore with jinn and things like that. So potentially a first exposure way back 20 years previously. And coming back with quite clearly PTSD. But yeah, so that kind of like, I don't know how old your character is when what you've got in mind.
I was thinking probably fairly young, not old enough to go to Iraq when that happened. So he's probably very interested in whatever stories you might have.
It's probably like going out to a quiet place, like secluded place, and teaching you how to shoot bottles.
Yeah.
It's that kind of you want brace. That thing kicks like you.
I think the Live and Pooters, they started the conversation about if we've been long-time hunters, would we start knowing each other, have a safe place that we had, or where do we start with relationship to us? Are we a cell already?
I was thinking it might be from mine. Sorry, I don't want to kind of like be that guy who's the one who brings everyone together. I thought, but is your character actually a priest or a?
Oh, my character is an actual priest. Yeah, he's actually the preacher. Yeah.
What it could be is that kind of thing of going into the confession because my guy can't afford a therapist, and there's the incognito.
Of course. Yeah.
Talk about the monsters, and it's the. I still see them. They call themselves different names, but.
Yeah. I close my eyes and I still see them. Of course. Yeah. That's that vibe. Yeah. It's playing. We are all long nights, so I don't understand the compacts that well. Maybe is it a loose membership type of thing, or we know each other? We are the long night of the Appalachians.
So in this, to answer that question, the Long Nights are a loose organization. So you're not going to know every member. However, the 5 of you are a cell. These are the people that you have come together with to hunt these threats down. So there is a level of trust that you have between these individuals. Trust Pooter and Live's characters to keep them off your back while you keep them off of Crüjen's and Gandhi's back. So on and so forth. Mm-hmm. There is a level of trust. Usually what I like to do is I like to... not spoilerish, but I will generally start you off in an earlier hunt. Session 1 will be kind of, you'll hit the ground running straight into an actual situation where you're going to be doing what you do with a monster. Usually I have felt that helps gel the group a little bit better because you immediately have something to focus on. And then after that, we'll time skip a little bit to bring things back up to where it's like, okay, you guys are now somewhat established.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I'm asking is there are some shared merit like safe place and whatnot. If we were together for a while, would we want to invest in those?
I believe
I've got loads already. I've got like 3 dots already in safe space. Which is like I say, my character's something of a prepper, so it's probably like a basement which is wall-to-wall tins and toilet paper and ammo.
I can throw in a dot or 2 for you because I still got the bonuses.
Yeah. So with that makes it if you put a 1 dot, if Pooter puts 1, if we all put 1 or some of us do, that's like a 3 dot safe place right there and then.
I've got 3 dots already, so it's
All
okay.
Right. So, pulling up to the end of our 2-hour mark here. Raise your hands now if you do not have a character name. Okay. So, I guess we will start with Live. Give us a final farewell for yourself and introduce us to yourself and the character, as it were.
I've been Livespark, and I've just created Eddie Heller, a Afghanistan war veteran and turned somewhat social misfit who has rediscovered a childhood faith as a kind of last-ditch attempt on coming back and sort of seeing various things that he can never unsee, and as a result has become embroiled with the Long Nights Appalachian chapter.
Martin?
Name is MartinMyst, and my character's name is Bishop. He's the Catholic exorcist who spent the last decade or so traveling with Lucas, his mentor, and seeing the tools of the trade in the both coasts of the continental US. He had a few sojourn into Mexico and Canada also for good measure as part of the church. Now, Lucas, under his tutelage, he reached the point that he got his first placement in the Appalachia Mountains, and very quickly he started to get together with some of the members of the Long Night through Lucas's introduction and started to go after some of the more ephemeral forms of these, as well as serving the community, maintain the faith that they are not alone in darkness, that they are not defenseless, and they are not alone at all. We are there.
Crüjen?
My name is Crüjen, and I just made the character Sasha Stolzhart. I'm not completely set on the last name, but she grew up in Appalachia. She moved away. She's come back haunted, and she is determined to haunt them back.
Pooter. I gave you some
yes.
time.
Gave me some time, and I've been thinking. So yes, I am Pooter. I've just made a character. His name is, I don't have a last name. His name will be Robert. He grew up in Appalachia, been here all his life. He's taken over his father's shop, selling survivalist gear, army surplus. He's very interested in military things, even though he'd never served. And now he's looking for a way to, he's been protecting the town for a while, ever since he took over the shop and his father's responsibilities. And yeah, he likes what he does.
Gandhi.
I don't have a name. Apologies. We'll get around to that eventually. The rough backstory of this character, they grew up in Appalachia like everyone else. You don't leave this place, you just grow up and you die here. Worked in the mining industry. Eventually they dug up some things that probably shouldn't have been dug up. Sent him on a downward spiral for quite a while. Refound his faith and has been going from there, but still trying to hold on to that faith, as every time he goes out every night he finds more and more things that make him question that.
I'm, of course, your storyteller, Wyverian. We will see you all next week for Session 1 of Hunter the Vigil. Critical Measures. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us and join us on Patreon. It really helps out the channel. And until next time, take care.